You came out to the atrium today with our nice little backdrop of 5 o'clock traffic here in Indianapolis. Spoon, we were talking before we went live, not a whole bunch of new news today. Today was really more about getting to know the prospects, getting to know the guys, which is kind of where the Packers and I guess every NFL team is right now, just kind of getting to know them. I know you spoke to a couple of local guys this morning. What was the biggest piece of news I guess you came away with from today, or the biggest impression you came away with?
Well, first of all, right, there is no Packers news, and it remains the stalemate. I can't tell you how many reporters come up to me to ask me what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, and I tell them, you know as much as I do.
Your guess is as good as ours.
And it's the case with personnel people that I talk to. You know, I walk the hallways trying to find people that I know, and everybody's in the dark. So there isn't a whole lot of Packers news going on here. Typically there's a lot of negotiations between Russ Ball. He hangs out in one of the hotels, and the agents come to him and they talk to him. A lot of times it's guys who, the agents who have free agent clients, they're shopping, they're tampering, you know, but
People on Twitter tell me that's illegal.
yeah, it is, but it isn't. And they go around and they, talk to the different negotiators. And so you can bet that Aaron Rodgers guys are talking to other people, and Devonta Adams' agents probably talking to other people. And so everybody's talking, but nothing's happening.
Right.
And that's just going to be the way it is until Rodgers makes his decision.
I was doing a radio show just a second ago as well, and they were asking about, Rodgers' decision. And I said, honestly, my gut's leaning towards him coming back, but he could change his mind 17 times between now and next week, and none of them would surprise me at this point.
Yeah. I have a pet theory about it, that it's a lot about the money, and that, or at least maybe it is to his agent, and his agent is shopping him around and saying, who can give me, I don't know this for a fact, I'm speculating on this, but, maybe he's saying, all right, who can give me the best deal?
Right.
Okay, and then he comes back to Rodgers and says, here's what everybody's offering, here's what the Packers are offering, what do you want to do? Yeah. So that's kind of how my, I don't know what you would call it, dream, or, my brain's kind of fried, so I'm not coming up with the right analogy, but you get what I mean.
Exactly. We can read between the lines. As you said, brain kind of fried. It is, I think, day 4? I don't know. I really don't know what day of the week it is.
We got here Monday night, and it's Thursday night.
Exactly. We've put a lot of miles on in this convention center. As we said, a lot of new prospects coming through today. Offensive linemen, running back. The running backs, I know you spent some time with offensive linemen this morning. I spent most of the afternoon with the running backs. Running back is not necessarily a position of need for the Packers.
No.
But that being said, several of them all commented that they had met with the Packers. One of the ones that met with them was Isaiah from Rutgers, and he mentioned that they spent his entire meeting time with him wanting him to go over pass protection with them. So is that just something that you feel like, is that just a tactic to see how they learn, or is that something that they're looking at knowing that, however their offensive line's going to go from here, no matter who their quarterback's going to be? Is there something to that, basically, is what the question is?
Yeah, well, what it is that they require their guys to block. Mm-hmm. And so they're not going to take a guy who can't pick up the concepts of picking up blitzes, of pass protection. They just can't do that because they pass so often. And the system requires their backs to protect. So, essentially what they're doing is a lot of the interviews, or some of the interviews, are for keeping records. And in 2 years, this guy might be available, or 3 years might be available, and they have some background from discussions with him, and they might eliminate him from being a prospect, that they are even interested in. But you'll often hear, like, when they pick a guy up, especially for the practice squad, they'll say, we liked him coming out of the draft. We talked to him coming out of the draft and thought he was a, interesting guy. So I think a lot of it is homework that they're doing. And the more homework they do, the more they know about prospects, the better it helps them down the line. That's why you can get a Devondre Campbell and it works out, or a Rasul Douglas. They had done their work on those guys.
It's a great point, and they were possibly going to be needing to do that soon if, with how contracts work out and needing to get younger guys.
Yeah, and running backs get hurt all the time. And so we saw it with Kylan Hill. They thought he was going to be a really nice addition, and now they don't know what's going to happen with him with an ACL. He probably won't be ready for the start of the regular season, so they need a third running back. They have Patrick Taylor, but you got to keep that supply chain going. So it's not surprising they're talking to some.
You talked to offensive linemen this morning. That might actually be a position where we see them take someone maybe, I doubt we see round 1, but maybe round 2, round 3, day 2.
If the right guy comes to them in round 1, I could see him taking a tackle easily. Yeah.
Is there anyone that you've noticed, and I know we don't watch the prospects too closely, but anyone that has jumped out as maybe like someone to keep an eye on, or to make it a little bit of a bigger picture, should we be looking at tackles, guards, versatile guys? I mean, Evan Neal's not going to be still sitting there at 28, but like, what should be the focus here on the offensive line?
Well, I mean, there are some offensive linemen that are pretty good, but I don't know if there's guys who were as good as there were last year or the year before that. And I think it's going to be a really good draft for 3rd and 4th rounders. And so, the Royce Newmans and John Runyon type guys are probably in abundance. And I think that's what you would see the Packers do. Now, if one of those guys at the top falls to them, if you've got a tackle sitting in your right there in the first round, and he's a first-round grade, you take him, because tackles don't grow on trees, and you'll move.
They grow as big as trees.
Yeah, they do, but you've got to continually stock that position. It's sort of like cornerback, you can't have too many cornerbacks, you can't have too many good tackles. So I could see him doing that. I talked to a kid from Wisconsin. I wanted to do a local story. He went to Valders High School, spent a year at Stevens Point, then went to Central Michigan and really improved himself, Luke Gadecki, and he's got a chance to be a 3rd or 4th round pick, maybe 5th, 3rd, 4th, or 5th. But he's really athletic, and some team like the Packers will like a guy like that because he's probably going to end up playing guard, but he's really athletic and nimble. He's a former tight end. And they like guys who can move, who can get out to the second level and block. They don't want big, bulking guys who can't move. So that would be a type of guy they might be interested in.
With that in mind, Craig asked, are there any Badgers players that you think are a good talent or scheme fit for the Packers?
I always think Badger linemen can be a fit, but they have to be a little more athletic. Like the Packers liked Cole Van Lanen because he was athletic. But there's some guys that are just run blockers. Wisconsin is all about running the ball, and that's their number one job. And the Packers are all about passing the ball. So you don't always see a good fit. You don't see them taking a lot of Badger guys because they're just interested in a different type of offensive lineman. Logan Bruss is one of the linemen who's available, and he's going to be a guard, big, strong guy. Could be someone they're interested in.
Yesterday we spoke to Jake Ferguson, tight end from Wisconsin. He talked about being at Wisconsin, having to be very much a blocking tight end, but he's also a good pass-catching one as well. Could someone like that, I'm not necessarily saying for sure Jake Ferguson, but someone like him, could that be a late-round guy to maybe replace Mercedes Lewis?
Absolutely. They have to be in the market for a tight end. someone who can block. They're hoping they get Tanyan back at some point next year. They got DeGuara, but I don't know if Mercedes Lewis will be around. He might not. And they need to start finding someone that can replace him. And they've found out how vital it is to have a good blocking tight end. It really helps the run game. And now if they could get one who can actually go out and catch a pass, and Mercedes Lewis can do it because nobody's expecting him to do it. But if they could find a guy who could do it and then be, somewhat nimble and go out, boy, that would add a lot to their offense.
Let's look outside the tight end, a little bit wider out to the wideouts. Mike asked, just hypothetically, how many draft picks could you get for Devonta, if that were to be the case?
I think it would be 2. You try to get a first rounder. The part that would sort of affect teams is they're going to have to pay him a ton. And so if they're going to have to pay him a ton, force the Packers to put him out on the market, and they'll sign him and not give up a draft pick. Now, the Packers will probably franchise him and then have to deal with that huge salary cap number and then maybe try to trade him. So I don't think it's as much as people think it's going to be, but I think they could get a first rounder for him and maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. That was something I wrote about today. Like, if you are contemplating trading him or letting him go, like, how do you replace him? And ironically, all of the guys here that you would replace him with look to Devonta Adams as to who they want to be.
Yeah, and so the franchise tag requires, if someone is to sign your guy for the franchise tag, it's cost them 2 first rounders. Now, I don't think you could get that. I don't think any team would give that up for a 30-year-old wide receiver. That's the problem. Devonta Adams is a great receiver, and he's going to be great next year, and he'll probably be great the year after that. But for a long-term thing, you would want, if you're really going to invest a lot in draft picks, you want a guy like Jair Alexander, who's, 24 years old, 23 years old, has his entire career ahead of him. That's the kind of guy where you would give up a ton, and Rodgers, and a quarterback. I just don't think you're going to get as much for Adams as people think they are.
And then we'll take the last question here from Brian. What is the biggest controversy buzzing around this week? Quarterback hand size, someone with a bad personality or history? Tom, I've never had to wonder so much what an 8.5-inch hand looks like. Apparently it's small. My philosophy is if you can get the ball out quick, who cares what your hand size is? Because it's mostly about if you get hit and can you hang on to it. Is that the case? And is that even a big controversy?
I think it is a big deal. The 2 guys that I've covered, Rodgers and Favre, both had big hands. And one of the things that is advantageous is in the cold, you can hold on to the ball a lot easier.
Okay.
But also those guys, for whatever reason, they seem to just be able to put more torque. I don't know if you've ever seen Russell Wilson. I was covering Wisconsin Pro Day, so this was how many years ago? And I'll never forget, he came walking over here, and I thought he had, baseball gloves on his hands. Russell Wilson has the biggest, it's out of proportion for his body. It's like, holy, that's the first thing you notice. And it explains why he throws that deep ball. He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL, and he doesn't fumble. There is something in my mind to hand size for quarterbacks. I think it's really important.
So Kenny Pickett is up a creek.
Pretty much, yeah. Maybe if you can play in warm weather climate, I don't know. If you're special, you're special. But I just know that the guys that I've covered, it's always been guys with huge hands.
We got Spoon fans coming through here.
Yeah, well, that's an old colleague. Our people probably, our Packer fans,
join us.
Mr. Greg Bedard.
Hi, Packers fans. Long time.
All right, now get out of here.
First
My
time
good
caller.
friend Greg Bedard. He used to be in your kind of position.
Oh, well, Greg, you can come take over.
He was 5 people before you.
5 people. I have a lot of big shoes to fill. You know what's kind of funny too, just to follow up on Brian's question as to what is the biggest, I don't know if I'd call it controversy, but the biggest topic this week. You look around at all the TVs, NFL Network, what they're talking about, what people are talking about in the halls, just the scuttlebutt. It's Aaron Rodgers. That's going to, whatever happens with him is going to have reverberations throughout the entire NFL, and it's going to affect possibly what happens with this draft.
Yeah, it's the topic everywhere. Every time I see like a former Packer scout or coach or something, hey, what's going to happen to Aaron? Or what's going on with Aaron? And everybody wants to know. So that is the biggest topic here. It's dominated at least my world. It has.
It's all I think about. I've mentioned this to a couple of different people, but I don't know if I've told it to you yet. There's this old Aaron Carter song. I don't know if you're a big Aaron Carter fan. I'm going to guess no. Exactly. But there's this old Aaron Carter song, and when it gets to the chorus, because the song is called Oh Aaron, and when it gets to the chorus, the backup singers go, Aaron, oh Aaron, what are you going to do? And I just sing that song all day the past couple of weeks. It's the soundtrack of my all season. What are you going to do, Aaron? Whenever he does decide, we'll be there to talk about it, I'm sure. And we will be here through tomorrow at the NFL Combine as well for the next batch of guys that are coming through. Tomorrow we talk to, I think, defensive lineman? Does that sound right? Which could very well also be a position that the Packers go after this draft.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that'll be a good one to talk to as well. Stick with Packers news for that.